Hi there. We are continuing the conversation about habits. And in this video, we're talking about what to do when we go off habit. And I use the term off habit kind of playfully. We can think about it like if you're driving down the road and all of a sudden you take a turn and you're off road and you're just in this terrain and you're trying to get through it and you have no sense of direction. You could get a flat tire because nothing is planned. There's no guidance. That's kind of what we're talking about here is when you're going off habit. That's what it can feel like to our brains. And what can happen is we have a plan, which is to follow whatever habit. We said we're going to do this thing and then we don't do it. And our brain goes, okay, well, what do we do now? And it starts to go a little bit crazy. And it can actually feel like you are off-roading because your brain doesn't have any tethers to it. It's just, well, if I messed up, like I ate that one cookie and my commitment for this month was I was not going to eat desserts unless it was the weekend. And it's Tuesday and I ate that cookie. What the hell? I might as well just eat all of the cookies because I've already messed up, right? So you go in this off-road mentality and all of a sudden everything's fair game and you no longer have any boundaries. So that is what we're going to talk about is what to do when that happens so that you don't end up off-road in some crazy terrain that you never wanted to get to. And the way we'll do that is we'll talk about two specific things. The first is the idea of perfection and how that comes to play with this concept. And then the second is a failure plan, which is a really tactical approach so that when you leave this video, you have some clear ideas of what you can specifically do to help yourself when you go off habit. Now, if you are sitting there and you're saying, this doesn't apply, I'm not going to go off habit. I'm going to keep my commitment to myself. I'm going to do the thing I said I was going to do. Then that actually makes this video perfect for you because you want to hear this message before you've messed up, before you've gone off plan, before you've made the fail around your goal. Because if you watch it beforehand, you'll be set up for when it happens. And so just know that if that is you, this is the perfect time to watch this video. All right, so the bottom line message from today's video is that when you go off habit, you just pick up and keep going. Sounds simple, but the reason this is so important is because it takes the drama out of it. It takes the spinning that can sometimes happen where we start beating ourselves up because we didn't do what we said we would do, and helps us to just refocus. And so that is really the key from today and why it matters. All right, so let's dive into the first part, which is around perfection. Here is what I find happens when we're talking about habit creation and the idea of perfection comes up. I find it tends to be in opposition with growth. When we have a perfectionist mentality, we don't give ourselves the opportunity to grow because we're so set in having to be perfect, having to get everything done just the right way, having to maintain our daily habit every single day, that if we mess up, well, then it's like we failed. And then, yeah, we failed, but we don't often know how to pick ourselves back up. We end up in a puddle on the floor, not in a pool, but in our misery and in our pity and in our anger at ourselves for not being able to be perfect. But if you could just go ahead and start doing the habit and have no problems and it was effortless for you, then there'd be no growth in it. That would be you being perfect in it, but there's no opportunity for growth and expansion. And so that's not actually the goal. The goal is not perfection, it is growth. What that means is we want to plan to continue and do this habit we've set for ourselves, and at the same time, we want to plan to fail. Because what we want to do is we want to show ourselves that even when we fail, and we're doing something new, so it happens. When we fail, it doesn't mean we give up. It doesn't mean we stop. And there's a way we can approach it that doesn't require all of this beating ourselves up in order to move forward. And that is why I think this video is so important and so crucial. Because what happens is we set our habit up, we start implementing, it's going well, and then we miss a day. And then I don't know about you, but my mind will be like, okay, I guess I got to start again next week or next month. And then like if let's say your thing that you set to for that month was that you wanted to not eat junk food unless it was Saturday. And so it's a Tuesday and you grab a cookie. So you went off habit. So you say, okay, what the hell? I had a cookie. I might as well just keep having cookies because I've messed up. That's perfectionist thinking, because what you're doing is you're making it very black and white. Today I said I would not eat cookies. I ate a bunch of cookies. And so now, well, I might as well just keep eating junk food because I've already messed up. And then your brain will tell you we don't need to restart again until the next day, or until the next week, or until the next month, or until the next year, depending on how extreme you take it. But we don't want that to happen, because just because you went off habit, aka off plan for that day, doesn't mean the whole day is ruined. It just means in that moment you messed up. You went off habit. You failed. And so we need to have a way to approach this where we don't have to have it mean that the whole day is ruined or the whole month is ruined. So instead of thinking in terms of, all right, I messed up, what the hell? Let's just have more cookies. What we can do is note that in that moment, we messed up. And to help ourselves in that moment, we want to have a failure plan. And so that's what we're going to talk about now. And a failure plan is you planning ahead of time what you will do when you fail. What this does is it helps you know what to do so that if you end up off-road, you already have a plan for how to get back on track, back in the lanes of the road, and back on habit so that you can continue forward. So a failure plan is something like, when I mess up, 1, I'm not going to beat myself up for it. 2, I'm going to figure out exactly what I was thinking before I messed up, because that'll help me know what kind of mindset I was in so that I can approach it differently moving forward. And 3, I'm going to pick up right in that moment, knowing that now it's a new moment for me to get back on habit, back on plan. I don't have to wait till tomorrow. So that's an example of what a failure plan could look like. What I'd invite for you to do is to pause this video and actually take the time to create a failure plan of your own. It helps to get really specific with this. So, for instance, for me, last month, my habit was to do the dishes every night. My plan for that is if I mess up, I just do the dishes the next day. I do all of the dishes. So if at the end of the day I didn't go and do the dishes, the next morning comes around, I do the dishes then. I don't sit there blaming myself or giving up or saying now this plan is ruined. I don't stew in the, oh, I messed up this one day. How could that have happened? I just keep going. I let myself know this is part of growth. This is me stumbling and falling. Like the kid trying to learn how to walk who keeps falling. This is a fall that I've just had. Now I'm going to pick myself up and move on. That takes the drama out of it so that on those times when I do mess up, it doesn't have to feel so heavy. And I know all I have to do is get back up and keep moving forward. I'm not in this as every day having to be perfect. I'm looking for an overall average of growth. So that is what I am here to offer to you today, is this idea of having some sort of plan so that when you do mess up, you already know how to handle yourself. And my recommendations for this plan is that you have somewhere in there an opportunity for you to reflect on why you went off plan, why you went off habit. Because our actions are driven by our feelings and our thoughts. So if we didn't do something we said we would do, or we did something we said we wouldn't do, that's the action. We want to know why. And we want to know why, not so we can use it as fuel for all the things that are wrong with us, but so that we can help ourselves see the thinking that held us back, that stopped us from being able to execute on our plan. Because it always boils down to what I was thinking that created some sort of feeling within me that led me to not do or to do what I said I wouldn't do. That's all that's happened when we're off habit. So all we need to do is back up, take a moment to see, what was I feeling? How was I thinking? Those are the keys, because then the next time you start to think that way or you start to feel that way, that's an indication to you that, oh, I might be about to go off habit. And that is why going off habit is actually a way where you can grow, because by the actual act of failing, of not doing what you said you're going to do, it gives you the opportunity to reflect back on why, and you learned why it happened so you can stop it from happening the next time. That is how we don't want to get, or why we don't want to be about perfection. We want to be about growth, and that's how the very fails are what keeps us growing and pushing forward. Okay, so I'd offer to you to go ahead and pause the video and come up with that failure plan. Include something about how you're going to take a moment to reflect back on what you were thinking and feeling. And I'd also recommend giving yourself the gift of not beating yourselves up and just deciding, I'm going to use it as an opportunity to be there for me, to be accountable, but not use it to tear myself down. Okay, so you've paused the video. You have your failure plan. The last thing I recommend is that you write a letter to yourself. Write a letter to yourself that you will read on the moments when you do mess up. And it's a way to help yourself stay in the mentality that it's not about perfection, that we can pick up right now where we're at. And the letter will be some type of note to help yourself get back in that space so that you don't stay off habit for days on days, but instead can get right back on track. Okay, so to recap, we often do have occurrences where we go off habit when we're growing. That is a part of learning, and that is a part of the process. So we don't aim for perfection, we aim for growth. And one way to help ourselves to do that and to really make the most of those opportunities is to have that failure plan. And the key is, no matter what, we just keep going. We pick up where we left off and move forward. It takes the drama out of it and allows us to grow and learn from the experience. That's what I have for you. Thank you so much, and we will talk soon. Bye.